Gotham Season 2, Episode 2, Knock Knock. Definitely an amazing second episode with a pretty sad ending. Something that, personally, I wasn't expecting because I thought that we would have Essen for quite a while. And I mentioned this in the first episode. And I believe I also mentioned it, like I did a predictions video. It was one of the shows I actually made it in time to do one for. I knew that we were getting, Michael Chiklis is going to be coming into the series. For anyone who doesn't know, he's like the main character from the show The Shield. He's also the Thing from the older Fantastic Four movies. He was the Thing. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's Michael Chiklis, but I knew he was coming into this show, and the picture that I'd seen was of Jim Bullock and Michael Chiklis. I don't remember the name of his character when he comes in, but I was wondering, is this guy gonna come in as the new commissioner, and he's gonna replace the guy that Jim kind of had the argument with, or was he going to come in and replace Essen as the chief of police? And after the first episode, I was like, okay, she's the new commissioner, so she's not going to be in the office anymore, and that's why we're going to have Michael Chiklis, because she's commissioner, so there is no actual chief of police right now. And then this episode comes along, and I knew that someone died because my stepmom was talking to me about it. She was like, they killed, and then she was like, oh, I won't tell you, I'll let you see it. So I was going through, and the only other scene where I thought someone might have died, which would have been insane if they actually did it, was with Jerome when he had the gun. I was like, there's no way. I was thinking about it because she said that. I was like, they're actually going to do that, are they? But if I'd seen it without her saying that, I would have known, like, yeah, it's the Joker. But she mentioned somebody died, so I was kind of thinking, like, would they really do that? Fortunately, no, because he was super awesome in this episode, and I think he's going to be super awesome however long he's going to be, a fairly big focus in this season. But it did suck losing the commissioner, because we all knew she was going to make a difference. They, talked about it being a new day and stuff, and I liked her character. We didn't have really anything on her. Like, she, despite being in the whole first season, they didn't give her, like, a backstory or anything like that, which I guess they don't really need to. It's not like they're superheroes. They're cops, but she never even had, like, a story, really, where it was just, like, an old mission. They may have had something like that in the first season, where there was some mission that she was involved in, or there was something that she knew about. We'd seen her, of course, because she was the chief of police. We'd seen her in a bunch of episodes, but it's really sucked that she got killed off, and I was hoping that with the whole Michael Chiklis thing, I was like, oh, well, she's going to be the commissioner, she just won't be in the office as much, so we won't see her as much, but she'll still be the commissioner, able to do whatever. And sadly, we won't. She's not going to be the commissioner anymore. We're going to get a new commissioner. Maybe, I guess we'll get a new chief of police as well, because we did have two separate people until the last guy was threatened by Penguin, and then Essen moved up to commissioner. But like I said, we didn't have a chief of police, technically, for like this one episode, which I have to assume has been maybe 4 or 5 days since the last episode, so about a week almost. So it was kind of a weird situation, so now we have someone else coming in who I guess is going to fill both positions again, just like Essen, and that'll be flat out our new commissioner, and it'll be Michael Chiklis' character. But it was sad to see her go, because I was really looking forward to her. Honestly, I was just looking forward to Jim having someone above him that was actually a good cop. That's honestly what I was thinking. I was like, despite everything, I just want him and her to be able to work together and just be two good cops helping Gotham. Because, of course, the whole first season was like, this cop's crooked, that cop's crooked. Either they're taking bribes from the mob bosses, or they take bribes from petty criminals and they ignore stuff here and there. It was just criminal, crooked cops. That's pretty much all it was. And it's just like, okay, well, now we have two good people. Of course we have Jim, and then even Bullock, he's a good guy. But we have a good commissioner now, and that's what I was looking forward to. And sadly, she gets killed off in the second episode of the season. So that was really unfortunate. I was really looking forward to just a lot more of her character. I honestly just thought she would live permanently, that would be it. But they did kind of hit us somewhere important, so we're getting a new character in. I assume that's going to have to happen in the next episode, unless they take place like the very next day, in which case there would be a couple of days where they just don't have a full commissioner. But it sucked to see her go. It happened in a pretty insane way with the GCPD being taken over, which was something that was shown off in the trailers. I definitely didn't expect that to be the second episode either. So that really surprised me. They went kind of full on. We get the group name, we get the Mainiax for the characters. We have, I think, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure it was like the opening scene, and it's like just people falling off of stuff. Or I guess it was like the second scene, it was after the title card came up. And it's just this guy, like, who is this person? And he's like, we need real news. And it's just like, oh, people just falling. Which my girlfriend thought was hilarious because, just the way it sounds. Which it is always kind of funny. Whenever, even when it's supposed to be serious, that does always sound a little funny. But it was a pretty interesting scene. Super unrealistic as well, that the bodies all landed like right next to each other. But it's also Gotham. They kind of specialize in some really silly stuff sometimes. But it was a good scene as well. I mean, they're just dropping bodies, despite how it seemed when the bodies were falling by the window. That was a serious scene. They're just like, all right, who's next? And then they just, push him right off the building. And then they have the last guy, and he puts like an exclamation point. And it's like, okay, there we go. We have, we have headlines now. We have everyone's name, or we have, the letters to make our name. We're going to get publicity. We're going to be out there and be known. And then things get even crazier from there. We have the villains kind of dealing with each other I can't remember like the main villain's name. I still can't remember it. I didn't even bother to think about it, honestly. But he's like, we're going to have you guys, after this next mission, one of you guys is going to be on TV. You need a public image. And of course, Jerome is the one who ends up getting it because he's the Joker, maybe. So, of course, he ends up getting it. I love the Russian roulette scene because that was actually really badass for his character. Even if we knew he wasn't going to die, sometimes it's just like, well, sure, we knew they weren't going to die from that, but that doesn't change the fact that he didn't know that, technically speaking. Like, we as viewers, it's like, oh, well, it's TV. They aren't going to kill off, like, the best character. But in that world, you have to still consider the fact that he didn't technically know. He was just super badass about it. And he's like, he does one, and then it's like, the best thing about a joke is timing. And it was just really cool. I was like, that's actually pretty awesome. And then it went right back to silly, because of course, he's just like, whoop, and he takes the katana from the guy. So I love that scene, and it was just really, really sweet to watch that. And then they take over the bus. Wasn't expecting that to be what it was, where it's like, all right, let's have this gas tank, or I guess gas tanker, let's take this bus, which, as Jerome put it, youth won the day. Then they were deciding between that and like an elderly bingo game, if I remember right. So he goes in. I didn't expect him to just be like, oh, just spraying everyone with a hose full of gasoline. That was pretty crazy. And then, of course, in typical Joker fashion, it was like, oh, my lighter's not working. So I thought for sure also that the guy who had the lighter, especially because he was like the twitchy, silly character who was just like really weird, I thought for sure he was just going to light on fire, which technically they all would have, because there was so much gasoline, the fumes would have literally killed all of them. But once again, it's TV stuff. I still enjoyed this scene. It was a really cool scene. And then when the cops show up and Jerome's like flipping and spinning, he's like, oh, and he's doing like these weird poses and stuff. And then he just drops the gun. He's like, oh, I'm out of bullets. He just left the gun. He just was like, mwah, and just dropped the gun right on the ground and just takes off. And then they end up killing off the other guy who did get captured because they didn't want him saying anything. So he gets shot and killed, and that's pretty much it. Jim, of course, saves the day on the bus, which it was a weird scene. The weirdest thing that happened in that, aside from the fact that, like I said, if that was real life, they would have all been dead in an instant. Because, honestly, fumes for gas, like, they're no joke. Like, that's why they say don't light stuff around gas stations. Because you can be like, honestly, depending on how much gas there is, and in that case, this isn't even an exaggeration, you could be 10 feet away from where the gas actually got sprayed on whatever. If you light something even 10 feet away, those fumes will carry that junk and it will blow up whatever's in the area. So when the gas was like set on fire before Jim started up the bus and everything, for one, that would have been way faster than that. Two, when he drove it away, there was an explosion, and I didn't understand that at all. There was like an explosion that took place, and that was kind of like the signal that everything's safe. But he was driving, and it was just like boom, this something blew up. But they took the truck back, they took the gas tanker, and they drove away to escape. So it wasn't that. There was nothing else over there but the bus, and honestly, like a puddle of gas that was like the main starting point of the fire after they were able to do it. So I don't know what blew up. Maybe if you guys saw something else that I completely missed, you can tell me. But when that happened, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. There was nothing there. It was just like gas on the ground that they lit on fire, and it was supposed to lead to the bus, which was dripping with gasoline. And then there was an explosion. I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. There was nothing there to blow up. So, like I said, if you guys saw something that I missed, please tell me, because that was just a weird thing to me. I can easily ignore the gas stuff, because literally every TV show, I think we all know, no TV show ever does gasoline like it is in real life. People will be like, gas right there, and then they're like, alright, and they'll just light a bunch of matches and just throw it right down. It's like, you would be dead. Like, the gas would have went right back into like the little container, which you still have in your hand, and you would have been blown to smithereens. So, as fake as that was, the gasoline thing I can always ignore, because no one on TV really does that right. It would be hard to do that right, because you have to have actual gasoline, so, you know, I understand. But that was still a cool scene, a cool action scene. And of course the ending was really insane, and then we had Barbara calling Jim, which was pretty interesting. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out at first. And then he follows her. He just gets welled on by the tough man of the group. He just punches him. Like, I think he got in like one punch, and then the guy did like one of those crazy hard punches where it's just like boom, and he was just like stunned for a little bit, and then he kept getting hit until Barbara said, like, you know, that's enough, and they just take off. And of course, meanwhile, everything's going insane in the GCPD. I had no idea, and I guess it was because in the scene of the trailer, it was so quick, and it was really just focusing on Jerome, like during the close-up. I didn't think about the fact that there was just gunfire going off behind him, and then during the actual scene, it's just cops being obliterated. Like, none of the villains, as far as I noticed, were actually killed, except for the guy that Jerome constantly had issues with. He flat out just shot him because he stole his line. So he's dead. I didn't even think about that until just now. Like, he's actually dead now. So there's like 4 people instead of 6 people because of the first guy that got captured by Jim. So I didn't realize, like, they're just killing off all these cops. Riddler ends up saving the woman whose name I cannot remember. She was totally about to get killed. She was just like, just standing frozen in place. So he ends up saving her. I can't even, man, I'm drawing a blank on so many characters right now. But Jim's current girlfriend, she was totally safe. She hit herself, and it was really simple for her. She just hit under not even under, really. She was just on the other side and was hitting like just enough where the guy missed her. So she was totally fine. Everything was safe. They all escaped, and sadly it ended with us losing the chief of police. We do have a couple of, like, 2 other noteworthy scenes. One, of course, was the stuff with Nigma, where we get to see his alternate personality or split personality again after him making like that really weird, it wasn't even a joke. It was like, if this was the first season, he totally would have been like super upbeat and been like, you know, did you know that they did this or did that? And he probably would have said like 2 or 3 other things, and of course one of them being a riddle. And in this, it was just like, did you know this? And she's like, nope. And he's like, okay then, see ya. And it was just really awkward and weird, and it was already weird before, but now it's just like, he's not even upbeat about it. It's just super weird, and even he realizes that it's weird, and that makes it even weirder. And then we get the split personality of him, the cool him with, you know, without glasses. It's like the cool version all the time. So we get that. He gets busted, which is definitely a funny scene when he's like, you know, go away, and he's throwing the papers. And then the cop's just in the doorway, and he's just like, and he's like, hey. And he just, you know, he just looks right down. So I did like that scene because it was kind of funny. We also got to meet Bullock when he was, meet Bullock's fiance, who's not just his girlfriend. We actually found out that she's his fiance, Scotty, which is a weird name for a woman. Sorry if that's your name, but it's kind of weird. I think X-Men, most other people probably would as well. But we get to meet her. She definitely does not like the cop life. I have to assume she came into things after Bullock left, because I feel like if she knew beforehand, all she would have said was, you need to stop being a cop. And I mean, even based on this episode, he came back into being a cop without telling her, so we'll probably get that reaction next week. But we got to meet her, we got to see Bullock give the fatherly advice, which I thought was going to be his role, at least for longer than just one episode. I thought he'd do that for quite a while before he actually came back in. I'm like, he's going to be in the bar. We're going to have, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last time too, that was pretty much going to be his role for, I mean, at least like 5 or 6 episodes. I thought for sure this is going to be his role, where he's in the bar. Jim goes to him like, I'm doing this case, I can't figure this out, or I can't figure that out. You know, to help me think outside the box. I thought for sure that was going to be his role for quite a while. And I actually would have enjoyed that, just because it would have meant Jim was on his own instead of the two of them being together. And it would have just been a dynamic that we didn't get to see too much. But I don't hate it at all, because I love Bullock as a character, because he's funny, but he gets the job done. So I like getting to see that at least one time, where he does give him like the sage advice, even though he's not on the force, and he gives him like that first big lead, and that kind of leads him through the rest of the mission. So I was glad we got to see that once, but it did surprise me that he came back in just in the second episode, much like the stuff with us losing our commissioner in general. Very different levels of surprise, obviously, but still shocking. I thought for sure he was going to do just the former cop sage advice move for quite a while until the new character came in. But I did enjoy this episode. Loving the stuff with the villains for sure. Don't know what they're going to do with Barbara 100%. She seemed a little bit more into things in this episode. She was like attacking the mayor with the one woman. And it was so funny when they had the opening scene where he had the locker on his head. When they opened it, when they opened it and showed the guy's face, I was like, oh, he's still the mayor? Like, I completely forgot. I was just like, something, like, they just need a change in mayor, because he's a terrible mayor. But, like, that was the first thing I thought, was like, oh, he's still the mayor? That's not good. It's not good for them. So, she was, whipping him around with the cat of nine tails and stuff. Just weird little scene. But I enjoyed it. It was, I'm curious, like I said, to see where they go with her character. She did have Jim beat up, which is definitely important, because her whole thing in the first episode, at least, of the season seemed like it was to get back with him, but now it seems like she's kind of moved a little bit beyond that. And also they kind of make it official that she did kill her parents, because like I mentioned before, they didn't make it 100% official. It seemed like she may have still just been technically a little crazy, but they made it official that she is the one that killed her parents. So that was something. I was like, okay, they made that 100%, like that is what they believe. She killed her parents, that's what they're going with, so that's what I'm going with now as well. But don't know where they're taking her. Still definitely more entertaining than when we first met her. I think we can all agree 110% on that, so I enjoy it. But still curious. Also loved her outfit. I thought she kind of looked a little hot when she was in like the jacket and stuff, just to throw that out there, but I did. Totally almost skipped over this, but the stuff with Bruce, very important. I mentioned, I said the stuff with Edward, it's weird calling him Edward Nigma, but the Riddler. The stuff with him and Bullock was important, but Bruce had way more importance than both of those characters this episode. We got to see Lucius Fox as well come in towards the end, so he's going to be a part of the trio now, which is actually really cool to see him come back. Crazy moment with Alfred when he just destroys the computer, so of course those answers we're going to have to wait for until the mid-season finale, or after the mid-season finale, of course. But definitely some interesting stuff, and Bruce just freaked out and he was trying to fire him. My girlfriend hated that stuff. She hates the whole Bruce storyline, to be honest, because she hates when he gets angry because he's a little kid, but I see it as he's a kid who lost his parents, and she kind of just sees it as a bratty kid. Different people see different things. I enjoyed it, actually. She did mention, though, the fact that like he can't get rid of Alfred because he is technically his guardian. That is true. I guess because he is his butler, it does kind of work in a weird way, so I guess it does technically make sense. Although it is still super weird. I mean, obviously, if Alfred left, it's not like they can be like, you have to come back. So, kind of, it still would work if he left, if he actually did go. But I actually enjoyed that. I thought it made perfect sense. Like, of course he'd be angry. As far as I was concerned, he finally got down there. Alfred is, both of them, I can see where they're coming from. Alfred's trying to save Bruce because both his parents died, and it he wants to protect Bruce. It made perfect sense to me. Something that was very interesting though, before he destroyed the computer, is when he's yelling at Bruce and he's like, this is where we are. There are guns, and then there's a bulletproof vest with 2 slugs in it. When he mentioned that, it definitely made me think of Flashpoint Paradox, which is where they do like the alternate timeline where Thomas Wayne is actually Batman and he uses machine guns and just guns in general. That's what I thought of when they mentioned that, because it's like, why did he have these guns? And there's, like I said, a bulletproof vest with 2 slugs in it. That's not like handguns. That's someone came at him with a shotgun. A little bit more serious. So it just instantly made me think of the alternate Batman when Thomas is actually using guns and stuff. And that may have been the point, was to make people who know at least that backstory or alternate timeline story think of Thomas Wayne as the other Batman, but who knows what it was. I don't think that was the case, because I feel like if there's a vigilante doing that type of stuff, they would have at least referenced it, because it would be like, that was huge news. Even if it was back then, or whatever, that's news that doesn't just disappear and no one gives a crap anymore. That's something that would stay in people's minds. So I don't think that's going to be the answer once we get it. But either way, it was pretty cool. And I'm excited to see what this weird little Thomas Wayne pseudo Batcave is really all about. What secrets he has. Because even Lucius didn't know. So I'm excited for that. That was actually way more important than the other 2 moments. And I think I always kind of forget about Bruce until the last second when I'm doing my reviews. But I did enjoy that. I thought it was cool. Great to see Lucius come into it. That was probably the coolest part, outside of some of the more emotional stuff. With like Alfred yelling was probably my favorite part, because he was just getting so emotional trying to help him. But I did enjoy that. It was a good episode overall as far as I'm concerned. Of course though, I want to know you guys' thoughts, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with us losing our Commissioner Essen, I want to know what you guys thought about it. Like, did it even matter to you? Because, like I mentioned, we really didn't have any true story about our character. But for me, it still mattered, because we had the crappy Commissioner. And when she became Commissioner at the end of the last episode, I was super happy about that, because I'm like, we're going to get Jim able to actually help Gotham. And then we have a Commissioner who, personally, like, even though she didn't have like a starring role or anything, she had more than enough moments for me to be like, I like this character because she's actually a good cop. There was the one episode when she fully committed to helping Jim, even though no one would even follow her as the Commissioner. She had that moment, which is super awesome. I love that. Was one of my favorite episodes as well, when Jim was kind of by himself, and even Bullock wouldn't really stand by him until the Commissioner did, and I was like, that's just super cool of her, because she was a good cop, and she was at the top. And we did get a little backstory in this episode where she talked about like how so many people, corrupt people, even paid their way to get into the position and still completely wasted it. So for me, I still feel like it had a huge impact, because I liked her character and the potential that her character had to affect like how much Jim could really do. And that's why I was affected by it. Like, that makes it suck even more. But I do want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.